Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Raising Confident Girls. I am Melissa Jones, and I'm so happy to be back with you this week where we are focusing on a back to school series. So I started thinking about what support would families of girls need as they're supporting their daughters going back to school. And so this is the second episode. If you did not listen to last week's episode on back to school, just how to support their confidence inside and out, please go back and listen to that as well. These don't have to be in a certain order, but I tried to think about what would be really relevant for girls as they go back to school. And so this week's episode is all about friendship, because there is that period of time in the summer where they're either super connected with their friend group or they're distant because of travel, because of camps and schedules and activities and things like that. And there can be obviously the in-between, but sometimes too, our girls start to meet new friends and then they're trying to figure out where they fit with their old friends, or maybe they kind of had a lonely summer and they didn't really have a lot of interactions with friends because of where you live or just a lot of travel, and they just spent more time with family, which is also good, but it can often leave them feeling a little bit disconnected with friends or a little bit fearful of like, how will things be when we go back to school and things like that. And so before we get too deep into the episode, I want to remind you that the best way that you can help other parents of girls is by sending them podcasts that are helpful. So I would love it if you would share with a parent or caregiver of a girl who this could help, whether you send the whole show or just this episode. That would mean the world, because that is the intention of this show, to support girls and families through doing this podcast so that they have the tools while they're growing up. They have the support to grow up into confident women who have the tools and things they need to navigate anything they face in a positive way. So helping your daughter navigate back to school, friendship stress is really common. And this is something that I've noticed as both a parent and a teacher and a leader of girls and Girls Positivity Club. I listen a lot to what they talk about in camp and ask them questions that are, normal questions like, what are you looking forward to in school? What is something that's on your mind? And this also comes from girls that I work with one-to-one, that I've had individual conversations with. And so it's really supporting you in responding to any friendship related anxiety that they may face, transitions in friendships, uncertainty in your daughter's friends and friendship dynamics as she starts the school year. So I hope that this gives you confidence and helps you support her in knowing how to do that. Because as school starts up again, whether you've already started or you're getting ready to start or you're a month out, however it is in your school district, many girls are excited, of course, to see their friends, but also feeling nervous, uncertain, or even left out at times, because there are several reasons. Number one is no matter what, they're not going to be with the exact same people as they were the previous school year. So no one's going to walk into the exact classroom, the exact dynamic that they had the previous year. So although new school years can feel, or even new terms or semesters, whatever you call it, can feel exciting because it's a fresh start, there can also be a little bit of nervousness around the dynamics of the social part, because school, yes, is about academics, but more importantly, it's the emotional and the social dynamic that can drive how they do in school. And so there can be shifting friendship groups. There can be social changes that stir up some big feelings for your daughter. And so, whether your daughter is 6 or 16, this episode is going to give you tools to help you feel confident and help her feel confident and included and feel supported when it comes to friendships this school year. So, the first thing that I want to teach you is to normalize that friendships shift and it's okay. I think there is this kind of myth, and I don't think that it's necessarily that parents have created this or anything, because I know I haven't, but it's like the best friend myth of like you have to have one best friend for the rest of your life, or you are going to meet your person who is your ride or die, as we say. I say that like your friends that are going to be with you for a lifetime. And that can be true, but I think it can unnecessarily create this expectation that if they don't have a best friend, or if their friendships shift, or if they have a lot of friends that they're good friends with, but things are constantly shifting, that's not okay. And that's actually not true. Like what I think we should do for girls is really normalize that they're going to be friends. And we've said this before, like I'm sure you've heard the saying, that you have friends for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And I think there can be this pressure with girls that they find their lifetime friends at a young age. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you meet them later in life. Sometimes you don't meet them until adulthood. Sometimes you think you meet a lifetime friend and they end up being a friend for a season or for a reason because you're in a certain activity together or you're in a certain time of life together. And so I think that we need to make sure that they know that it's common for friendship dynamics to shift because of new grades, new teachers, new interests, and all of those things are okay. And they don't have to panic if they are starting to drift a little bit from a friend or something's feeling a little off, and to teach them how to listen to that inside voice about it. And your daughter, if she's on the other side of it, where she has a friend who's kind of shifting away from her, she can feel a little bit confused. Like, did I do something wrong? She can feel left out, especially if a friend that she's been friends with for a long time, or she has a deep friendship with, starts meeting other people. Maybe she starts a new activity and she starts expanding her friendship group. And your daughter likes to have more of a close knit, small group of friends. She doesn't like to have a lot of different friends because to her, it's too much to keep up. That's what I've heard from girls before. Like they either like to have a lot of friends to where they have a lot of options and they just like to be around a lot of people. Those are usually like the more extroverted type of people. And then there are also girls who like to just have a small group of friends that they can trust and go really deep with. And then other people just like to have one person. It just depends on how your daughter perceives friendship. And I think it's a valid point and a valid conversation to have with her. Like, what do you view as good friendships? Or like, how many friends do you like to have? Some girls feel super overwhelmed by having more than 3 friends at a time, while others like to just have 5 or 6 friends, 8 friends, 10 friends, because they like different personalities. They like to be in different situations, or maybe they're in different settings. So maybe they have a core group of friends in their youth group, and then maybe in their camp people like that they met at camp, and then maybe they're sports friends, or maybe they're art friends, or they're club friends. Like they're going to have different groups, and that's actually really good. And so it's teaching them that they don't have to put all their eggs in one basket. They don't have to worry about if things start to feel different in a friendship. And it also doesn't mean that they've done anything wrong if a friendship starts shifting away. Obviously, we want to teach them how to be reflective and think about like how they've shown up in a friendship as well. But even if no one is being mean, it doesn't mean that there has to be like this mean girl falling out when friends drift apart or start being a little distant. Like there doesn't have to be like this dramatic thing that happens. Sometimes you just start going in different directions, and that's totally okay. She may, like I said, be worried if she did something wrong, if a friend grows distant. And it's teaching her to like communicate about it and not be afraid to say something to the friend. And it doesn't have to be confrontational. It can be assertive still, but not be accusatory or like telling them off or anything like that. It can just be a lot of times they are afraid to tell how they really feel about it, or they sense the distance and they don't know what's going on, but they don't want to mention it because they don't want to ruin the time they actually do have with that friend. So it's helping her find the language for it of like, I feel like we haven't really seen each other in a while, or I feel like when we hang out, it feels a little different. Can we talk about that? So it's having the bravery and the confidence to be able to say those things to their friends without fear of abandonment, because that's the number one thing I hear from girls when I ask them, did you say something? Did you tell her how you felt? No, because I didn't want to ruin it, or I didn't want to seem to this or that, or I didn't know what to say. So those are very typical responses. And I believe we have to give them the words and the tools to know what to say. And it always can come back to those I feel statements, like, I feel a little distant from you. Is there something going on? I feel left out because it seems like we are spending less time together. And so then it opens up a dialogue of what that other person is feeling and perceiving. And then your daughter can be reflective of like, is this a friend I want to continue with? Is there just a misunderstanding? Has there just been time that's passed and we just need a little bit more time together? What's going on? So teaching her that if someone pulls away, it's not always about you. And most of the time, it's not. It might be about them growing in a different direction. It might be about them going through something. It might be that when school starts, they are in different classes. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. Because I think girls have a secret fear that if they're rejected by friends or by anyone, they think it's them and there's something wrong with them. And they don't always like say it out loud or want to say that, but it's kind of like that secret fear that they have of like, well, something must be wrong with me if they are pulling away. And what we need to remind them of is that it's oftentimes not anything about you. It's about that person. And if though, let's say, and that doesn't mean that there's no responsibility if your daughter does say or do something that causes someone to shift away, it's like, what could you learn from that? Did you think that was the right decision in the moment? So it's helping her process through it and learn from it and use that experience if something did go wrong in a friendship to build on the new ones and grow from it and learn from it and build better friendships because of it if something did actually happen. And also not to beat herself up about it, because it can become like this thing that they ruminate on and they just replay over and over and over. So it's like helping them flip it and think, okay, that didn't go well in that friendship. And this could also be true if they're friends with someone who's not a good fit for them and like not good for them. Like, okay, what did I do? Oh, I gave in to everything they said. I only did things that they wanted to do because I thought that they would be mad at me. I was always nervous when I was around them because I didn't ever know if they were going to be mad. And just being like, did you feel drained around that person or did you feel energized? So we want to spend more time around friends that make us energized, and we want to be that for our other friends. It doesn't mean we have to be positive vibes only all the time. It just means that we have to teach them at a young age what showing up as a friend means for them and also what they expect out of friends, and not to be afraid to talk about those things. So that is the first tip, is to normalize that friendships can shift and that's okay. And then also it's helping her name what she's feeling without jumping in to fix it. And that is the hardest thing in the world, because especially if you're a mom listening, we know what it's like being a girl and navigating friendships. And girls may often say that they're fine, or they're, that friend is just being weird, or nobody likes me. When what they really mean is, I feel anxious and I just really want to belong. And I feel really anxious about that because I feel like I'm not fitting. Something's off. And so it's validating her feelings and making space for her to reflect and just openly share how she's feeling about her friendships. And it's that phrase that I've said so many times, and I'm sure you've heard it from Mel Robbins, from all the people, all the personal development people, and like all the parent people that talk about this, and it's the really hardest thing to do, but it's just listening, because we want to support our girls so badly. And it is the biggest gift that we can do to just listen before we jump in to fix it. Because there can be this panicky feeling that rises in us as parents, as caregivers, where we want to protect them, we want to help them, we want to support them, we don't want them to go through anything hard, because maybe we did. Like, I struggled with my feeling of belonging. And so sometimes I over check in, and it creates this, like, I don't want to say, well, frustration, I would say. I was going to say animosity, but this frustration that's like, Mom, I'm fine. Like, I'm literally fine. I don't need you to keep checking. I'm okay. I'm like, well, do you need support in, working through this? This would be after, like, something is shared about a friendship where they are struggling and I want to support. And then I kind of overfix, or I over check in. And so it can have that opposite effect. So the hardest thing, but also the most powerful thing I've heard from so many girls, is we listen before we fix, and we ask, do you want my advice? Do you want my help? And so, because it's so easy to just jump in and be like, well, here's what I would do. And this is what I think you should do. And do you want me to call the school? And I need to call her mom. And I need to help you fix this, because we don't want them to go through pain. And I'm not saying that that's never the case, especially to me, it would be like an extreme case when you would intervene and like check in with parents and things like that. But the best thing we can do is just validate them and how they're feeling, and say, it sounds like you're feeling unsure about where you're fitting in right now. And that makes total sense with what you're describing. So it's validating it. Like, I understand that you're feeling this way. And one thing that I do sometimes is I'll say, that's not true. Well, to them, it is true. So it's not that we have to agree with them, but it's saying, like, that makes sense for how you feel that way. I understand how that could have felt hurtful. Do you want to talk about what's been happening and just have me listen? Or do you want some ideas of what you could do to maybe make this better? So however you want to word that, and the most simple way is, do you want me to listen or do you want advice? But giving them that option, and believe me, I've broken this rule a million times. And I can honestly say it has pretty much never gotten my way when I force my advice, because all they hear is a lecture, especially as they're getting older. And then other times I've had the opposite. Mom, what do you think I should do? And there's a direct ask. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this moment is happening. I would love to help you. So it will happen to where they want your advice, but we just have to let them process through it too, which is the hardest thing, but also the most powerful thing we can do for them as they're navigating these friendships. And then the third step is coaching her on how to reconnect with friends without pressure. So kids sometimes wait for others to reach out. So a lot of times, let's say, for example, that a girl has been traveling a lot in the summer, or has been, let's say it's a divorced family. Maybe you're listening and you're like, well, I'm a co-parent. So we share the summers. So there are some weeks where she's with her dad, some weeks she's with me, whatever it would be. And they have lost touch and they're not sure how to reach out. And maybe that friend hasn't reached out. So if it's a neighborhood friend, maybe they haven't been in that neighborhood and they're like, they haven't come to see me. They know I'm here if they're visiting or whatever the case may be. Even if it's a same parent home, you live with the same parents all year round and you have neighborhood friends, but no one's really reaching out to them. They're just like waiting for them to be invited over. Maybe they see other kids playing at the house that they want to go to, but they're not invited necessarily. But they don't want to reach out because they don't want to seem a certain way, like they're desperate or like they are being intrusive or whatever the case may be. So sometimes they wait to reach out to their friends and then they feel rejected when no one reaches out to them. And so what we can do is say it's okay to reach out. And sometimes friends need us to reach out to let them know we're available or let them know we're interested in hanging out. So it doesn't mean that we're being needy or seeming a certain way. It means we have to let other people know that we want to do things with them in order to continue the friendship. Sometimes you do have to be the one to reach out. It doesn't mean they didn't want to reach out. It might just mean that they're busy. It might mean that they have been doing a lot of camps. It could be that they have been doing a lot of things with their family. They've had a lot of family time. It could be that they have whatever the case may be. So offering gentle ways for them to initiate a hangout or a check-in with their friends is really important. And also to keep it low pressure and encouraging. So not to be like, well, you better check in because they're going to think you don't want to hang out, or they're going to think you don't want to be friends. That can create unnecessary stress on them, and just keeping it light and just saying like, hey, do you want to send, if they're older, like you want to send a text to your friend and be like, hey, I've been thinking about when we did this certain thing, like whether it's, I saw this funny meme and it reminded me of you. Do you want to meet up and hang out this week? Or do you want to, whatever it will be. So just like a quick text or a quick phone call, if your daughter is not having a phone, or that's just not the way that she reaches out to friends, maybe they go knock on the door and they, say, hey, I was hoping maybe we could hang out in the backyard, or I was getting ready to go swimming. Do you want to go swimming? So sometimes it's inviting them to do something that can be a bridge too. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be, hey, I was going to head down to the park. Do you want to ride bikes down there? Because maybe they used to enjoy riding bikes together or something like that. If that feels too scary to knock on the door, maybe if they are younger and you do know the parents, maybe you reach out to the parent and help them set up a play date if they're young, if they're too young to initiate it on their own. And yeah, maybe it's just setting something up and also telling them that it is brave to go and knock on the door, and it's okay if the reaction isn't what they expect. So maybe they're like, oh yeah, I do want to ride bikes, but I'm getting ready to go hang out at so-and-so's house. And then there becomes a thing of like, do they invite themselves, or do they give another option? Because that can feel super rejecting. You can say, oh, okay, well, maybe later we could hang out. And maybe then the other friend hopefully says, well, why don't you just come with me and then we'll all hang out together. It doesn't always happen, but that is something that you can practice. Like, if this happens, then what would you say? So not necessarily that they have to memorize a script, but especially if you have a daughter who's anxious about going over and inviting themselves or inviting their friend over it after some time has passed, then maybe you give kind of some, if this happens, then I could say this, or I could do this. Again, not that it has to be robotic, but just to give them some things and to ask them, like, do you want help on what to say? Like, do you need me to give you some ideas of what you could say, or do you think you've got it? So it's also letting them have that ownership of, I think I'll say this, without controlling it and saying like, practice on me what you're going to say. So it's just like, I really want to go hang out with so-and-so, but they haven't really been around, or I haven't really known how to do it. You could maybe role play a little bit to help build their confidence before they do it, before they go and invite, or when they first see them after setting up the play date or the hangout. What to say, like, do you feel comfortable with your conversation? Do you need any support with that? So just offering and then letting them be and letting them figure it out, I think is so crucial, because especially when we want to be supportive to our girls, it's very tempting to over prepare them, or to create all these scenarios to prepare them. And it's like, sometimes you just need to go into it just as you are and show up, try and reconnect, however it comes out, even if it's awkward, that's okay. So also just telling them that if it feels a little off at first because you haven't seen each other in a while, you don't have to fix the whole friendship. Just start with one small step. And if they say no when you invite them to hang out a first time, that it's been a while, it doesn't mean that they're rejecting the entire friendship. It might just be the timing. They may not be like in the best place to do that right then. They might be getting ready to go somewhere else. So just continuing to encourage them to keep trying, to reconnect with different people and seeing who they're vibing with, who they're connecting with, and to just ease into it and know that it's okay if it's not perfect. And then the fourth way to support our girls in their friendships as they're transitioning back from a break and from to going back to school is to talk about healthy friendships. So back to school is a great time to check in with them about what makes being a good friend versus a draining one. So I just had a conversation with a girl who's going into high school yesterday, and I've worked with her for several years. And she was saying that, she talked with a friend, they FaceTimed because she's a teenager, um, who was just dry and draining. And she was like, I didn't feel good in the conversation. It just felt really low. It felt really un exciting. It was like there's really not much to say. I just felt super drained after we talked. And she was like, but my other friend, anytime we talk, it's easy. The conversation flows. We have a common interest. We talk about that in the beginning, then we just start talking randomly. So there was a huge noticing on her part of like, I don't feel good when I talk to this person. I do feel good when I talk to this person. So who do you want to spend more time with? And it doesn't mean you ditch the draining friend if they're going through something, because in this case, there is a belief that this girl is going through some hard things in her life. So it's still checking in from time to time to show you care, maybe, but spending more time with the people who you feel good around, who make you feel good, who lift you up, and you do the same for them. And so it's teaching them to notice how their body feels when they're around certain friends and certain dynamics. And that doesn't ever mean that something hard can't happen in a friendship, but it's noticing more often than not, how do I feel around this friend? And what makes this a healthy friendship? If they're always getting kicked out of a friendship group, because I heard this at a young age, meaning girls that I've worked with and that have been in Girls Positivity Club, they're like, well, she keeps kicking us out of the friend group. And it's like, okay, let's think about that. What is happening when the kicking out is happening? And is that someone you want to spend time with? So what I heard typically was like, basically this one person wanted to run things. And if anyone disagreed, they were kicked out. So it's like, do you want to be around a person who kicks you out if you don't agree with every single thing they want to do and does everything that they want? You do everything they want you to do. Like, is that a healthy friendship? So it's helping them be reflective and also having them name, like, what is a healthy friendship to you? So is it someone you can trust, who you can tell something personal to, and they're not going to tell everyone? Is it that they're kind to you and to others? So I've also heard from girls of times where friends are nice to them, but they're mean to other people. So it's like, is that the kind of friend you want? You want to be friends with someone who's only nice to you or only nice to certain people? Like, is that okay with you? Is that a healthy friendship? Is there a fear that at some point this person might turn on you? So not to create that fear, but just bringing it to her attention and having her reflect on what are qualities you look for in a friend and how do you show up for other friends? And is that a healthy way of doing it? Or is it draining you and this is not a good friendship for you? And also, it's how did you feel during the hangout with your friend, during the time you played with the friend, during the time you spent time with the friend, and after? So if they, like in the case of the girl that felt really draining, like, did you feel drained during? Yes. Did you feel drained after? Yes. Is that a friend you want to spend more time with? No. So it's helping her, just checking in. It's another check-in of like, how did you feel before, during, and after, or just during and after your time you spent with that friend? And reminding her too that it's quality over quantity. Like, you don't have to spend every day of life with a friend to be good friends with them. So I have really close friends that I only see a few times a year, but when we're together, the quality time that we spend together is amazing. next level. And so it's just teaching them that you don't have to live at each other's houses, so to speak, and be hanging out all the time in order to have a good friendship. Now, yes, that can be the case too, where you do hang out with your closest people all the time as you're growing up. And that's totally, plausible too. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's more of the quality of friendship that you have versus how much time you spend with them. And then, you could say, when you're with this friend, do you feel more like yourself or more unsure of yourself? So that's another really good check in and good way to see how she's feeling, and for her to be reflective about it and teaching her how to have these good friendships. And then it's always you reassuring her too that a good friend is someone you can be your real self with, not someone you have to impress all the time. So, do we want our friends to think highly of us? Of course. But you can really let your guard down and be your real self with your best friends, with the people in your life that you want to spend more time with. And so I heard a girl the other day say something like, well, I was kind of my toned down version until I get to know them better. And it's like, okay, that's okay in the beginning, like totally. I don't want you to be afraid though to be your full self around people for fear of how they will react to you. And it's really like that point in a friendship where it's kind of like that honeymoon phase when you're first starting to meet someone. Is like you're showing a little piece of yourself here and there, but then when you really let out your weirdness or like your normal side, it's not that you're putting up a front. It's just like, can I trust this person? And just reminding her that a good friend is someone you can be real with. You can talk about hard things. You can be weird. You can say the wrong thing and make up. You can laugh about ridiculous things and have inside jokes that make no sense to anyone else, but you don't have to impress them by being someone you're not. So it's always coming back to find your people that help you feel the most like yourself, and you do the same for them, accepting them for who they are in a friendship, and that's reciprocated, and that's a healthy friendship. And then number 5, and the last tip, is modeling that she's never alone. I always felt really lonely in growing up with my friendships because, sometimes when I didn't feel accepted or I didn't feel like I belonged, it felt like no one liked me. It felt like there was something wrong with me, all the things that I'm describing. But one thing that my mom did for me and the women in my life who really empowered me did for me and my good friends when I met them was they let me know that they were a safe place. And I think as parents and caregivers of girls, whether you're an auntie, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, an uncle, whoever listening to this, a cousin, a neighbor, you can remind them that you are a safe place for them. No matter what's happening in her social world, you can let her know that you are safe and that she can talk about these things with you, and reminding her of all the people who care about her. So it wasn't just my mom, it was my Aunt Trish, who was always there to listen to me, encourage me, tell me I can do anything, and still does to this day. It's all the teachers, the counselors, the coaches, all the people in your daughter's corner who are there to support her. And it's reminding her that she is surrounded by people who love and support her and who will do anything for her that they can to support her in her friendships and her life. And sometimes, even when we know that we're supported, we just need to be reminded of it. And even if your daughter has you only, that's okay. As we say in my family, one is better than none. One safe, warm adult in her life is better than none. And I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, that you are one of those people in your daughters, nieces, cousins, whoever the girls that you want to impact in their lives, or you wouldn't be listening to a podcast like this. And you can say things to her like, even when friendships feel messy, you're not alone. I'm here. I believe in you. I'm here to listen and talk to you. And there are so many people who see how special you are. Even when it doesn't feel like it, we are all behind you and we're all here to support you. Sometimes it's just saying that out loud and reminding her of that is a comfort. And even if she doesn't react in a big way, even if she's like, I know, or I don't feel like it sometimes, just reminding her that you're all there for her and giving her a way that she can connect with you. Like, hey, give me a call next time you're feeling this way, or write it down and we can talk about it later, or, call me up and we'll have an ice cream, or text me, or whatever it is. Giving her a way to connect with you when she's feeling like that, even if it's a code word. I used to have a code word with my mom if I was having a hard time, and I didn't want to necessarily say it all. I could just give her the code word, and that would be her clue that I needed her in a different way. And all of these ways, I hope, are giving you ideas for even one way that you can support the girls in your life and their friendships. And so this is a very hard thing for them. Like, even if they make friends easily, there will come a time where there is some kind of a dynamic that maybe shifts in friendships that she's trying to figure out. And even if they are having all healthy friendships, they might witness someone who's not. And so if you're like, well, my daughter really doesn't have friendship stress at all, it could be her noticing in another girl that they need a healthy friendship. And maybe it's her stepping into that for someone else and being inclusive and inviting them to join her healthy friendship group. Maybe that is the takeaway that you have. If you're like, I hope I don't face this, like my daughter really isn't having this, then that would be my takeaway for you is, I'm sure a girl in your life needs this support in some way, or you could be that person for, your daughter could be that person for someone else and really help them feel supported in their friendships. So this is one of the biggest, most emotional challenges that girls face in the school year, but it's also where they build resilience, empathy, and confidence. And so you don't need to have all the answers. Just being someone who listens, who validates, who believes in her can make all the difference in the world. And so if this episode helped you, please share it with another parent or caregiver of a girl that it could help, or just send it to your daughter and you guys could listen to it together. I think that's always such a powerful thing, is to listen to something together and then talk about it, or watch something together or read something together and talk about it. It always opens up really good insight about what she's thinking or feeling about her friendships or whatever topic it is. So until next time, keep raising those confident girls who know what a healthy friendship looks like. And I hope that you have the best week ahead, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.